Around 3,000 patients have died since the 1970s after being given infected blood. The government has announced an increase in financial support for some of those affected. Our health correspondent Sophie Hutchinson reports.
It's impossible to know exactly how many thousands of patients the NHS treated with bad blood in the 70s and 80s. Estimates suggest 5,000 people with diseases like haemophilia, but possibly as many as 30,000 others who received blood transfusions. They were infected with life-limiting diseases such as hepatitis and HIV.
When they told me what they'd done to me, I stood at a motorway bridge to jump off it.
That film was how the infected blood inquiry opened last autumn. Since then, its officials have been working to prepare for today, the beginning of the evidence from those infected.
This, for the first time ever, is the time when people's personal testimonies are going to be heard, the infected and the affected, about how this has devastated and traumatised their lives. And the fact that so many of these people have led quiet lives of desperation away from the camera because of the stigma around it all and because of health and the disastrous health consequences they've suffered.
It's believed at least 3,000 people infected in this scandal have now died. Those left behind and others infected want answers about how and why such dangerous blood was used by the NHS. Sophie Hutchinson, BBC News.
And joining me now is Tony Farrugia, whose father, Barry, was one of the many victims of the tainted blood scandal. Tony, thank you so much for joining us on this day. And your two uncles as well, Victor and David, have also died.
That's right, yes. I'm also a cousin who's currently infected with hepatitis C on stage 2. He's still alive, but obviously daily life is a struggle. And
your father, just to take this back to the beginning of this part of your story, had haemophilia, and that was how he became infected. So what age were you at that time?
I was 7 years old when my father was first changed from relatively safe treatment, cryoprecipitate, to factor 8, and he was actually infected with hepatitis B, and we believe exposed to hepatitis C on his first infusion, which was in 1977, so I would have been 6 years old. And then subsequently he was then infected, we believe, in 1981 with HIV. From documents in his medical notes, we believe that they were aware by 1983, but he wasn't told until 1985. He was, however, told in July '84 that he'd contracted non-A, non-B from these products, at which point the relationship in the family took a terrible twist. And I was actually removed from the family home, placed into care, and then my father was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. And my brother was then removed, my twin brother was then removed from the family home 2 days after, and also placed into care. So it's had an absolute catastrophic time. And then obviously with...
Devastating toll on your family.
Yeah, other members of the family as well. You know, we've lost both uncles now as well, one to HIV, one to Hep C, so we've been burying our dead for 33 years and it's still not over. So we welcome today. You know, we're so pleased it's finally starting.
At such a young age, going back to the time you were telling us about, you can hardly have fully understood what was happening to your family, can you?
We didn't know. We was never told. He was never told of the risks. He was never warned. Even when he was infected and they knew he was infected, he wasn't told.
And were you reunited with your family?
Yeah, in 2010. My father died in 1986, so I was reunited with the family. I think it was 26 years later.
You've done a lot of work to try to raise awareness of this contaminated blood scandal, because for a long time you felt that it simply wasn't getting the attention that it deserved.
When it first broke in the 80s, and obviously we realised that my father was infected, we were told to, after my father had passed away, to go away and forget it ever happened. It was an accident, and that's what we did. I only actually picked this up again a decade ago when I received an email from my dad's sister pointing me to the campaign group Tainted Blood. So I spent a couple of years trawling through their timeline of what we believe has gone on, and yeah, it's horrific, it's shocking.
Will you be giving evidence to the inquiry?
I haven't been called yet, but that's not to say that I won't be, and I would hope that I would be called, because our story is truly shocking, of not so much the infections of my father and the fact that he was sectioned and we never saw him again, but the fact that the after effect of what it did to the family and what it's still doing today.
That effect has, well, it's rippled through the decades, hasn't it? It continues. You say you welcome this inquiry. What do you hope it will achieve? What do you want to see come out of it that will make you say this was a worthwhile exercise?
Well, firstly, my father's death has been recorded falsely in history as an accident, and this wasn't an accident. So we hope that the inquiry will actually get to the bottom of why this happened, who was responsible, what was known. We've not had that before. We've just been completely ignored by the Department of Health on any requests for information, and we welcome this inquiry. This is the way forward.
Thank you so much, Tony, for telling us your story. It's utterly shocking and devastating what happened to your dad, your uncles and cousin, and ultimately to you as the children of this family. But we wish you well, and perhaps we'll talk to you again as the inquiry progresses.
Yes,
thank you very much.
I'd like that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tony Farrugia, thank you very much.